Captain Lee Minute stared at the screen showing the dying ship ahead of them. The vessel looked strange with its twisted, living hull that glowed faintly in the darkness of space. He knew what it was immediately, a Kethmari ship. "Captain, we're getting a distress signal," said Park Ji-won from her position at the communications desk. Her voice was quiet, almost afraid. Minute-Ho nodded but didn't take his eyes off the alien ship. Every person in the galaxy knew about the Kethmari. They called them the Cursed Ones or Plague Bearers. Once, they had been a proud people who could grow their technology like living things. But something had gone terribly wrong. The story said the Kethmari had tried to create new life forms in their laboratories. Instead, they made a terrible sickness that spread across their entire world. Within months, their beautiful planet became a dead rock floating in space. Only a few thousand Kethmari escaped in ships like the one drifting before them now. That was 50 years ago. Since then, every species in the galaxy avoided them. The Galactic Council made it illegal to help them or even talk to them. They said the Kethmari might still carry the plague that killed their world. "Sir, the Council has very clear rules about this," said First Officer Kim Tae-ho nervously. "We're not allowed to make contact with any Kethmari vessel." Minute-Ho watched the alien ship's hull flicker like a dying heartbeat. He could see dark spots where the living metal was rotting away. The ship was slowly falling apart, and everyone inside would die soon if no one helped them. "How many life signs are we detecting?" he asked. Park Ji-won checked her instruments. "About 200, sir. But the readings are weak. I think many of them are already sick or dying." Minute-Ho closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about his daughter back on Earth, only 8 years old. What if she was trapped on a dying ship somewhere, and everyone just watched her die because of some stupid rule? "Open a communication channel," he ordered. "Captain, I must protest," Kim Tae-ho said quickly. "If we make contact, Earth Command will remove you from duty. The other species might even attack us." I said open the channel. Park Ji-won's hands shook as she worked at her controls. A face appeared on the main screen, thin, with pale blue skin marked by dark patterns that looked like scars. The being's large, dark eyes showed terrible sadness. "I am HFY, the alien said in broken human language. "Leader of the ship Dying Hope. We do not ask for your help, human captain. We know your people must follow council law like all others. We understand." The alien's voice was so full of pain and hopelessness that it made Minute-Ho's chest hurt. Here was a person who expected nothing but rejection, who had learned that the entire galaxy saw his people as walking diseases. "This is Captain Lee Minute-Ho of the Earth ship Defiant Hope," he said clearly. "We're going to dock with your ship and bring medical supplies." HFY stared at him through the screen. His mouth opened slightly, and his large eyes grew even wider. You would help us? But your council, your people will be punished. Why would you risk this for the Cursed Ones?" Minute-Ho stood up from his captain's chair. Behind him, he could hear his crew whispering nervously to each other. He knew they were scared. Some of them probably thought he was making a terrible mistake. "Because you're not cursed," Minute-Ho said firmly. "You're people. And where I come from, people help people when they're in trouble." Tears began flowing from HFY's eyes, clear, blue tears that looked almost like water. "In 50 years, the alien whispered, no one has spoken to us with kindness. No one has offered help. We began to believe we truly were cursed by the universe itself." "You're not cursed," Minute-Ho repeated. "You're just unlucky. And everyone deserves help when they are unlucky." He turned to his crew. Most of them looked afraid, but he could see something else in their eyes too. They looked proud. "Kim Tae-ho, prepare a medical team. Park Ji-won, send a message to Earth Command telling them what we're doing. Be honest about everything." "Yes, sir," they both said at the same time. As the Defiant Hope moved closer to the dying Kethmari ship, Minute-Ho thought about what would happen next. Earth might punish him. Other species might become angry with humanity. But right now, 200 people were dying, and he had the power to help them. That was all that mattered. On the screen, HFY was still crying, but now he was smiling too. "Thank you," he said in his broken human language. "Thank you for seeing us as people." Minute-Ho smiled back. "That's what people do for each other." The great meeting hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with angry voices. Hundreds of different alien species filled the enormous room, all of them furious about the same thing. Ambassador Choi Hai-jin stood calmly at the human-speaking platform, watching the chaos around her. "The humans have broken our most sacred law," screamed the Velkari representative, its forearms waving wildly. They touched the plague carriers. This cannot be allowed, hissed another alien with snake-like features. The cursed ones will spread their death to us all. Council Prime Yelthana, a massive creature that looked like a walking tree, raised one enormous arm for silence. The room became quiet, but Hyjin could feel the hatred directed at her like heat from a fire. Ambassador Choi, Yelthana's deep voice echoed through the hall. Your species has committed a serious crime. You will immediately give us all Kethmori refugees you have helped. You will also promise never to contact them again. Hyjin activated her translator device and spoke clearly into the microphone. The Republic of Earth says no. The silence that followed was complete. In the 300 years since the Galactic Council was formed, no species had ever directly refused a council order. You forget your place, young species, growled the HFY War leader, a creature covered in sharp spines. Perhaps we need to remind you why you should obey us. Back on Earth, Admiral Yoon Sung-ho read the reports coming in from across human space. The news was not good. 5 human colonies had lost all their trade agreements overnight. 3 important shipping routes were now blocked by alien warships. The HFY battle fleet was moving toward the edge of human territory. But other reports made him smile. Captain Park So-young had just made contact with another group of dying Kethmori refugees. She was giving them food and medicine right now. Lieutenant Colonel Lee Sejin had built a secret supply station in empty space where Kethmori ships could get help without being seen. Sir, said his assistant, Earth Command wants to know if we should order our captains to stop helping the Kethmori. The economic pressure is getting very bad. Admiral Yoon looked at a photo on his desk. It showed him as a young man with his grandfather, who had lived through the old wars on Earth. His grandfather always said the same thing, sometimes doing right costs everything, but doing wrong costs your soul. Tell our captains to keep helping anyone who needs it, he said firmly. In her secret laboratory, Dr. On Minute G studied the samples that grateful Kethmori had given to human doctors. She could hardly believe what she was seeing. The Kethmori biotechnology was amazing. They could grow medicine that would cure diseases humans had fought for centuries. They could create materials stronger than anything humans knew how to make. This is incredible, she whispered to her research team. If we can learn from this, we could solve so many problems. But the best part was not the technology. It was the look in the Kethmori's eyes when humans helped them. After 50 years of being treated like walking poison, they had found people who saw them as friends. Back in the council chamber, the threats were getting worse. Your trade will be destroyed, snarled one alien leader. Your colonies will be left defenseless, promised another. You are one small species against the entire galaxy, Yelthana said slowly. Submit now, or face the consequences. Hyjin looked around the room at all the angry alien faces. She thought about Captain Lee Minute-ho, who was probably helping more Kethmori right now despite all the threats. She thought about the human colonists who would suffer because of Earth's decision. She thought about the Kethmori children who would live because humans refused to abandon them. I have a message from Earth's government, she said into the microphone. We are sorry that our actions upset you. But we will not stop helping people who need help, no matter what threats you make. The room exploded in angry shouts. Some aliens were calling for war. Others demanded that humans be thrown out of the council completely. But in the back of the room, a few aliens sat quietly. They remembered their own dark times, when they had been weak and needed help. They remembered species that had been destroyed while the council watched and did nothing. One of these quiet observers was Thelanora, a crystal singer whose people had lost their homeworld in a mysterious disaster years ago. She watched the young human ambassador stand firm against the entire galaxy, and she felt something she had not felt in a long time. Hope. On Earth, a news reporter interviewed families whose sons and daughters were in the space fleet. Are you worried about your children? She asked a mother whose daughter served on a ship helping Kethmori refugees. The woman smiled sadly. Of course I'm worried. But I'm also proud. My daughter is doing what's right, even when it's hard. That's what it means to be human. Across human space, that same scene repeated over and over. People were scared about what might happen, but they were proud of their choice. They had chosen to stand with the abandoned, even if it meant standing alone. Dr. On Minute G rubbed her tired eyes as she stared at the computer screen. She had been working for 18 hours straight in the hidden research station, but what she was seeing kept her awake better than any coffee could. Beside her, the Kethmori scientist Veltaran made a soft clicking sound with his throat. It was how his people showed confusion. The numbers are wrong, Minute G said quietly. This plague that killed your world, it doesn't match your DNA. Veltaran's large, dark eyes focused on the screen. His people had believed for 50 years that their own experiments had created the terrible sickness that destroyed their planet. "What do you mean?" he asked in his careful human speech. Minute G pointed at the genetic code displayed on the screen. "Look at these patterns. When a species creates a disease by accident, it usually affects them in random ways. But this plague, it was designed. Someone made it specifically to kill Keth Mori." The clicking sound from Veltarin's throat became faster and more urgent. "You are saying, we did not destroy our own world?" "I'm saying someone else did. And they made it look like your fault." 3 days later, Captain Lee Minute-Ho received an emergency message on his ship. Dr. Minute-G's voice was excited but also frightened. "Captain, you need to see this immediately. Bring your intelligence officer." When Minute-Ho and intelligence analyst Kim Do-hyun arrived at the research station, they found Minute-G and Veltarin surrounded by data screens and documents. "We've been checking old records from other species," Minute-G explained. "The Velnari crystal singers lost their homeworld 15 years ago. Official reason was natural earthquake activity." She showed them a genetic analysis. "But I found traces of the same kind of artificial earthquake technology in their planet's core samples." Kim Do-hyun leaned forward, studying the data. "What about the Thexari radiation poisoning? And the Mordun colony disasters?" "All artificial," Minute-G said grimly. "Someone has been systematically destroying species and making it look like accidents or natural disasters." Veltarin spoke slowly, his voice full of pain and anger. "Who would do such a thing? And why?" Kim Do-hyun had been tracking communication signals for weeks. "I think I know. There's a group called the Hegemony. They work in secret inside the Galactic Council. I've been intercepting their coded messages." He showed them fragments of translated conversations. The messages talked about cleansing inferior species and maintaining galactic purity. "They think some species are too dangerous or too different," Kim Do-hyun explained. "So they eliminate them and make everyone else believe it was natural causes." Minute-Ho felt sick as he realized the truth. The Keth Mori weren't cursed. They were murdered. And then blamed for their own deaths. "We have to tell the Galactic Council," Minute-G said. "Will they believe us?" Veltarin asked sadly. "Who will listen to the word of humans and cursed ones?" "We have proof," Minute-Ho said firmly. "Evidence they can't ignore." But getting the evidence to the council would not be easy. When the Defiant Hope left the research station carrying the data files, 3 unmarked ships appeared and attacked them. "No identification signals," reported Communications Officer Park Ji-won. "But those are definitely military-grade weapons." The human ship shook as enemy fire hit their shields. Minute-Ho knew his ship could not win against 3 attackers. "Captain," Veltarin said from the science station where he was working, "may I suggest something? Anything that keeps us alive. My people's bioships have defense systems your attackers have never seen." Veltarin's hands moved over controls that looked more like living tissue than metal buttons. Suddenly, the Defiant Hope's hull began to change. Bioarmor that the Keth Mori had installed grew and shifted, creating new weapon ports. Strange, organic missiles launched from the ship. When they hit the enemy vessels, they didn't explode. Instead, they spread like living things, eating through the attackers' metal hulls. "What are those things?" asked Engineer Wong Su-bin in amazement. "Metal-eating bacteria," Veltarin explained calmly. "We grew them to recycle old ships. But they work very well as weapons too." 2 of the attacking ships retreated quickly, but the third was too damaged to escape. Wong Su-bin managed to attach a tracking device to it before it limped away. "Where does the signal lead?" Minute-Ho asked. Kim Do-hyun checked his instruments. "Straight back to Hegemony Space, Captain. These weren't pirates or random attackers. Someone with official authority sent them to stop us." The attack had failed, but it proved something important. The Hegemony was so desperate to hide their crimes that they would attack anyone who discovered the truth. "They made one mistake," Minute-G said as she backed up all their data files. "They tried to stop us before we could spread the evidence." "What mistake?" asked Veltarin. Minute-Ho smiled grimly. "They showed us we're right. If they were innocent, they wouldn't need to kill us to keep us quiet." The evidence was already spreading through secret networks to other species who had lost their homeworlds. Soon, the galaxy would know the truth about the Hegemony. The Keth Mori were not cursed. They were victims. And victims who knew the truth were very dangerous enemies. The evidence spread through the galaxy like fire through dry grass. On worlds that had lost family members to mysterious disasters, People watched the data files with growing anger. The hegemony had tried to stop the truth, but they were too late. Ambassador Choi Hyjin stood in the Galactic Council chamber once again, but this time she was not alone. 3 other species had come forward with their own terrible stories. Thelanora, a crystal singer whose people looked like living glass, spoke first. Her voice rang like music even when she was angry. Our homeworld was not destroyed by earthquakes, she said, her crystal body glowing brighter with each word. We have found the bomb devices buried in our planet's core. The hegemony murdered billions of my people. Morketh, a Thexari warrior whose skin could change color and texture, stepped forward next. His body shifted from silver to deep red as he spoke. The radiation that poisoned our colonies came from hegemony weapons. We have the proof. Our children died while the council watched and did nothing. Finally, Velkull of the Mordun held up a small container filled with green liquid. His people were master chemists who could create amazing things from simple materials. This poison killed 3 of our colony worlds, he said, his voice bitter. The hegemony told everyone it was a mining accident. But we have traced the chemicals back to their secret laboratories. The council chamber was silent. Many of the alien representatives looked shocked and ashamed. They had believed the hegemony's lies for decades. But some aliens looked angry at the accusations. These were the hegemony supporters, and Hyjin knew they would fight to protect their conspiracy. These are lies, shouted one of them. These species are desperate and making up stories. The evidence speaks for itself, Hyjin said calmly. The question is, what will the council do about it? Far away from the council chambers, General Nam Kyung worked in a secret base hidden in an asteroid field. Representatives from all 4 wrong species were meeting to plan their defense. The hegemony won't give up easily, he told the group. They've spent decades building their power. They'll try to destroy us before we can expose them completely. Captain Park So-young nodded as she studied star maps with Kethmori engineers. Our ships are already being equipped with bioarmor from Veltaran's people. But we need more than just better defenses. My people can provide crystal shield technology, offered Thelanora. Our shields can absorb energy weapons and redirect the power back at attackers. Morketh's skin shifted to a metallic blue color. The Thexari adaptive armor can change to resist any type of weapon. We can share this with all Alliance ships. And we have chemical compounds that can disable enemy vessels without killing their crews, added Velkull. The Mordun do not enjoy killing, but we are very good at stopping our enemies. Dr. On Minute G worked day and night with scientists from all 4 species. The biolabs were busy creating new technologies that combined the best abilities of each people. Kethmori bioships could grow and heal themselves during battle. Velnari crystal arrays could store massive amounts of energy and release it as powerful weapons. Thexari armor could adapt to any attack in seconds. Mordun chemistry could create weapons that would disable entire fleets without permanent harm. But the most important thing they created was trust. For the first time in decades, species that had been alone and desperate found others who understood their pain. We call ourselves the Forsaken Alliance, General Nam said during one of their planning meetings. Because the galaxy forsook us. But we didn't forsake each other. Commander Lee Jae-sung trained human soldiers alongside crystal singers, learning how to use their energy shields in combat. Captain Kim Tae-ho worked with Mordun chemists to create new types of non-lethal weapons. The work was dangerous. Hegemony spies tried to infiltrate their meetings. Enemy ships attacked their supply convoys. But every attack only made the alliance stronger. They are afraid of us, observed Veltaran during one strategy session. Good. They should be. The first real test came when a hegemony fleet attacked a joint human Kethmori rescue mission. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human ships covered in living Kethmori armor fought like organisms instead of machines. Their hulls healed damage automatically and grew new weapons during the fight. Velnari crystal arrays on the ships absorbed enemy fire and sent it back doubled in power. Thexari fighters changed their hull composition every few seconds, making it impossible for enemy weapons to find an effective setting. Mordun chemical missiles released clouds that made hegemony ships shut down without harming their crews. The hegemony fleet retreated in confusion. They had never faced enemies who could adapt so quickly or work together so perfectly. Admiral Yoon Sung-ho watched the battle reports with satisfaction. They tried to destroy us by making us outcasts. Instead, they created the most powerful alliance in galactic history. News of the victory spread quickly. Other species began asking questions about their own past disasters. Some offered secret support to the Forsaken Alliance. The hegemony realized they were losing control of the situation. Their next move would be desperate and dangerous. They'll come for Earth, predicted intelligence analyst Kim Do-hyun. If they can destroy the humans, they think the alliance will fall apart. General Nam smiled grimly. Let them come. We're ready. The massive hegemony fleet appeared above Earth like a dark cloud covering the sun. Admiral Yoon Sung-ho counted over 300 warships on his screens, more than he had ever seen in one place. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the hegemony flagship, reported Communications Officer Park Ji-won. A cold voice filled the bridge of the Soul's Pride. This is Hegemony Command. You have 1 hour to surrender all Forsaken Alliance members and dissolve your illegal organization. Refuse, and your world burns. Yoon looked around at his crew. They were scared but determined. Behind Earth, the combined fleet of the Forsaken Alliance waited, ships from 4 different species that had learned to fight as one. Send them our answer, Yoon said calmly. Today we don't fight for territory or glory. We fight for the right of every species to exist. The battle began with a massive exchange of fire. Hegemony ships launched thousands of missiles at the Earth Defense Fleet. But the Alliance ships were ready. Captain Lee Minute-ho's Defiant Hope had grown thick bioarmor over the past months. The living metal absorbed the missile impacts and immediately began healing itself. From weapon ports that looked like flowering buds, the ship released strange organic projectiles. What are those? Asked his gunner, Wong Su-bin. Smart missiles, explained Veltaran from the science station. They learn from each attack and adapt their approach. The biomissiles struck hegemony ships and immediately began changing their structure to overcome enemy defenses. Shields that stopped the first missile were useless against the second one. Commander Park So-young led a squadron of ships equipped with Velnari crystal arrays. When enemy beams hit their crystal shields, the arrays absorbed the energy and fired it back twice as powerful. It's like fighting with mirrors, laughed her pilot as a hegemony cruiser was destroyed by its own reflected weapons. Colonel Lee Sejin commanded fighters covered in Thexari adaptive armor. Every few seconds, the hull material changed its properties. Laser weapons that worked against metal armor were useless when the hull became crystal. Particle beams that could cut through crystal had no effect when the armor shifted to energy-absorbing biomaterial. They can't lock onto us, reported one of her pilots. Their targeting computers can't figure out what we're made of. Captain Kim Tae-ho's chemical warfare ships worked with modern allies to release clouds of specialized compounds. Hegemony ships that flew through the clouds found their electronics shutting down, their weapons going offline, their engines stopping completely. But the hegemony had numbers on their side. For every alliance ship, there were 3 enemy vessels. Slowly, the defenders were being pushed back toward Earth. We're losing too many ships, reported General Nam Ki-young from the command center. We need something to change the balance. That's when HFY, the Keth Mori leader who had first been saved by Captain Lee Minute-ho, made his decision. My ship will break their formation, he announced over the communication channel. The redemption will give her life so others may live. HFY, no. Minute-ho called out. There has to be another way. Captain, my friend, HFY said gently, you gave us hope when we had none. Now let us give you victory. The Keth Mori bioship Redemption charged directly into the center of the hegemony formation. As enemy fire tore through its living hull, the ship began to release millions of tiny spores. What's happening? Demanded the hegemony admiral as his flagship systems began failing. The spores were adaptive bioorganisms that could break down any type of technology. They spread from ship to ship through the tightly packed enemy formation, eating through metal hulls, destroying electronic systems, shutting down engines. Dozens of hegemony ships went dark as the spores consumed their technology from the inside. Others broke formation trying to escape the spreading biological attack. For the cursed ones. HFY transmitted as his ship finally died. For those who stood with us when all others turned away. The sacrifice created the opening the Alliance needed. Human ships charged through the gap in the enemy formation. Crystal Singer arrays focused all their stored energy into devastating beams that cut through enemy flagships. Thexari fighters swarmed the confused hegemony vessels like angry insects. The enemy fleet broke apart. Some ships retreated. Others surrendered. The few that continued fighting were quickly overwhelmed by Alliance forces working in perfect coordination. As the last hegemony ship either fled or surrendered, Admiral Yoon received a transmission from the Galactic Council. Admiral, this is Council Prime Yelthana, came the familiar deep voice. The Council formally recognizes the Forsaken Alliance and invites you to negotiations for reformed membership. Doctor on Minute G stood in Earth's orbital gardens, watching the first new Kethmari sea chip slowly growing in the special biotanks. Beside her, Veltaran watched his people's technology creating new life instead of weapons. "We are no longer the cursed ones," he said softly. "Thanks to humanity, we are the reborn." Around them, representatives from dozens of species worked together on projects that would help everyone. The hegemony's vision of a pure galaxy had been replaced by something much better, a galaxy where being different was seen as valuable, not dangerous. "People help people," Minute G said, remembering Captain Lee Minuteho's first words to the Kethmari. "That's all we ever needed to remember."